It's really a matter of getting people to recognize that what they instinctively understand about right and wrong and how people should be and how society should be doesn't match what they've been taught about authority and government and law and those things. Basically, they've been indoctrinated into the notion that this beast called government is necessary and it's legitimate and it's representing us and we are the government and all this weird mythology that we're taught that isn't even remotely close to being true. And pretty much everything I do, all the projects I work on, my books and videos and everything else, is about trying to get people to see you already have inside you all the wisdom and morality you need. This isn't like a world full of evil people. Yeah, there are some nasty sociopaths, but it's not a majority, it's not most of us, but most of us have been taught things that actually make us betray what we really know about how people should be. If you ask somebody, is it okay to beat up your neighbor and take his stuff? Well, no, of course not. Is it okay to vote for a government who will tax your neighbor to fund for the common good? Well, yeah. No, it isn't. You're describing the same thing in different words. And so what I do is try to make people realize they already know all they need to know to dismiss government as an inherently immoral beast, but they have to look carefully at what they really believe in versus what they've been taught by way of this political mythology, which is literally making millions and millions of good people betray themselves and accidentally become advocates of mass violence and evil without recognizing it as such.
What's the origin of it? Is it nefarious origin, or is it just a manifestation of human fear?
I think it's absolutely calculated and intentional. I mean, you can say that we're sort of, we're genetically predisposed to go into groups, and there's sort of the alpha thing of, a bunch of people may go, well, I want a leader, I don't want it to be on my shoulders. And so that much of it you can sort of blame it on genetics and stuff. But along the way, certain individuals, and this, started many thousands of years ago, way before we have what we have now, figured out there are ways to manipulate and trick other people to make them serve me against their will. It may be like, I'm gonna, if I can do something that other people can't understand, and then I can say, well, the gods talk to me, and I can give you favors if you give me money to give to God, which, curiously, none of it ever makes it to God. But if you give me some favors, I'll help you out. And then it just sort of evolves into, if there's some way I can trick you into thinking that you have to obey me, you're morally obligated to. And eventually you have divine right of kings. Well, God told me I get to be your king. And we're not quite dumb enough to fall for that anymore. But the divine right of politicians is just a more elaborate excuse for the same insanity and the notion that, well, we need these people to violently dominate us and rob us, because otherwise there would be chaos. When people start to understand what authority is and what it does to people, and my book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, is about the belief in authority, and part of it is what it does to people. What the belief in authority does to most people is it makes them basically betray their own conscience in favor of obedience to a bunch of crooks. What it does to the people who imagine themselves to be authority, whether you're talking about cops who are just, well, I'm just an agent of the law, or the politicians, it makes them into immoral jerks, and it can't not. Now, the problem is people who are already immoral, crooked jerks are first in line for that position, because the people who love to dominate and control others, if you make a job description, come be a politician and violently dominate and rob everybody else, who do you think's going to show up for that job? And the ones who win it are the ones who can pretend to be compassionate and caring. You can't get the job by saying, I just like beating people up and taking their stuff. But if you know how to spin it like, I care about you and it's for the common good, and again, all the tyrants did this, the same propaganda, then all the good people thinking that, well, we need a government, they fall for it, and literally you have masses of otherwise good people empowering the worst people in the world. And if you look at, the videos of Hitler and his adoring throngs, these happy, enthusiastic, cheerful people cheering for him. Same thing with Mao, same thing with Stalin. It's not because those people were getting up and saying, I want to do evil stuff, and a bunch of evil people were going, rah, 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 do evil stuff. They were saying, I'm going to save the country. I'm going to make Germany great again. I'm going to, whatever it is, I'm going to fight against some injustice if you just give me power over you. And so the belief in government takes the power and the energy and the enthusiasm and the goodness of the general public and turns that into fuel for evil. You know, it may sound dramatic, but if you open a history book, that's what actually happens. Good people fund evil. It is the law-abiding taxpayers of every one of those nasty regimes that made those nasty regimes possible. So the evil psycho at the top, yeah, he's a bad guy, he's a problem. He's only a problem because all the other people believe in authority. Because otherwise he's one ranting psycho in a corner and who cares what he thinks. The good people who get tricked by that are the ones who act as enforcers, or they're funding it, or they're going along with it, or they're advocating it, or they're condemning anybody who goes against it. And that's why it's so heinous, but it's also why there's so much hope. If it was just a world of evil people, I'd be like, well, I'm just going to run and hide in a cabin somewhere. But it's a world of good, duped people, and they can be unduped, so they stop accidentally advocating things that don't even match what they really want.